and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Purcell. Here. Crawford.
Here.
Mortimer.
Here.
Ranieri.
Here.
Roseman.
Here.
Betts.
Here. Agenda approval.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mayor, I believe you had a change to the
I do.
agenda.
I have a late change to the agenda approval. We have an emergency hire due to a labor quitting, resigning at the water department for the city of Cuba. So we need to do an emergency hire application process for a water department labor operator.
So would that be item adjusting?
That would be with the agenda.
Just amending to add it to the code.
Do you want a motion for
Yeah,
that?
motion to amend the agenda.
Make a motion to amend?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So the line entry is a request to emergency hire water department labor operator to advertise and hire.
So you're asking for that now? We'll take care of it now, okay. Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Betts.
Yes.
Roseman.
Yes.
Ranieri.
Yes.
Mortimer.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Purcell. Yes.
Motion passes. And we are now ready for citizen participation. Laura Wallace, food trucks.
I did not hear from her today, so I'm assuming she did not need it.
Next.
Jackie Hunt, 303 Margaret, Ward 2. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
And I expect great things for this city in the coming 2 years. With that said, I regret my first appearance at citizen participation during your administration will be to ask reconsideration of an action you took last week at the last meeting. Although Alderman Mouse was not particularly circumspect with his opinion of your choice of Alderwoman Hartzell for the Police Commission, I think he had a good point, and I asked you to carefully consider it. I would like to talk about the day Hartzell v. Edson was heard at the Crawford County Court. That is a case in which the Alderwoman failed to obtain an order of protection against Mr. Edson. My reason for talking about this case will become clear very shortly. Most of the people of the court that day were witnesses and were removed from the courtroom before testimony began. I was not a witness, so I was one of the few people from Cuba who watched and heard the entire proceeding. During the case, the judge commented that to obtain an order of protection, a reasonable person in the same circumstances would be fearful. He clearly did not consider Ms. Hartzell's claim of fear to be reasonable. He was so unimpressed with her case that he ruled against her after she and her 3 witnesses testified. Mr. Edson did not even have to call his own witnesses, although there were many outside the courtroom ready, willing, and able, and eager to testify on his behalf. The judge refused to grant Ms. Hartzell's request for an order of protection despite testimony from 3 city officials, including Chief of Police Doug Shelton. I think you should reconsider appointing Alderwoman Hartzell to the Police Committee because of Chief Shelton's role in her order of protection case. That is not to suggest he did anything wrong by testifying. In fact, he had no choice. He had been subpoenaed. But I think some in the community may believe Ms. Hartzell called the chief as a witness because she thought she could rely on him to give testimony favorable to her. People may believe the Alderwoman might now show favoritism to the police department and try to give it more than its fair share of Cuba's financial pie. As liaison between the police board and the Board of Aldermen, she is perfectly situated to do just that. I can't think of a worse time for the community to perceive that an elected official is playing favorites. A time when we all know money is tight. So tight that just a year ago, we couldn't afford to hire 2 part-time minimum wage people to help with the summer mowing. So tight that less than a month ago, our comptroller urged we take advantage of recent retirements to reduce the number of city employees through attrition. For these reasons, I am asking you to reconsider the appointment of Alderwoman Hartzell for the Police Committee. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah. For the record, Dan Edson, 505 Kidwell Drive, Cuba. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll take a moment to congratulate those who won this recent election. I recognize that there are a few of you who are not privy to what I'm about to talk about, but we'll make documents available to you. Come before you this evening with 2 documents that involve Alderperson Hartzell and myself. The first is an embellished police report taken by Cuba PD that encompasses 2 dates, 10/21/25 and 11/11/25. One could say that she lied in these statements in order to get the complaint in front of a judge asking for an order of protection. That was a thinly veiled attempt to keep me from attending city council meetings. This documentation is refuted by witnesses in attendance at both meetings, with one being an audio recording. The second is a court transcript that clearly calls into question the validity of her complaint. Of the 4 witnesses that testified on her behalf, there are 4 different versions of what I supposedly said. The closest to the truth being Chief Shelton's testimony. One witness claims that in sworn testimony that I never said, quote, "if you want to play games," end quote. Another witness claims she, quote, believes she heard, "if you want to play games," along with an embellishment. And yet another witness claims he heard clearly what was said by me above the murmur of 8 to 10 people talking after a city council meeting, but required several questions repeated from her lawyer in a quiet courtroom. In a recent meeting on 4/16, Alderperson Hartzell was questioned how her witnesses worked out for her during that hearing. She responded, quote, "well, one of them didn't, that's for sure," end quote, referring to Chief Shelton's testimony. My question is this: can we believe the sworn testimony of an elected city marshal or not? Because if we can, that is further evidence the truth escapes Alderperson Hartzell. And I have to call into question her ability to serve the public as an elected official. Remember, there were 109 votes in favor of change when she won by 58. I believe these documents will support the need to impeach Alderperson Joyce Hartzell. I will happily make these documents available to any of you that want to read them. Get a hold of me either by phone or by message. I'll make arrangements to meet with you and let you review these documents. They will not leave my possession, so if you want to meet for coffee or something, that's fine. But thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
Good afternoon. I know the majority of you on here, some of you don't. My name is Cindy Mercer. I too am going to state after Dan, and it's very concerning that you have an alderperson sitting on this board that lied about a citizen. I read through them, and even my name's mentioned in there, and a couple of the questionings of the events that happened, and that's also not true. I was there for both encounters, and at no time did Dan ever threaten Joyce. You guys have to sit back and understand whether you have a good relationship with Dan or not. He's still a citizen, and we cannot have elected officials lying about citizens. It will break the rapport and the trust of your citizens with council. It is illegal to make a false police report. It is perjury of the constitutional rights when you are swear under oath and you lie in your testimony. It is important that this is really looked at and not just bypassed. It's important that your citizens regain trust in the council and that the right thing is done. I too motioned and hope that you guys support the impeachment of Alderwoman Dispersal. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Wallace, are you here?
I am.
Laura? Come on. Please.
Sorry, I thought I was going at the end. I don't know if you called me earlier or not. I'm Laura Wallace. I'm the owner for Cuba Bakery and Deli. I have some information for you guys.
If you don't have that, I'll just show you.
I've got one. Printed 10, is that enough? 10. You're welcome. Okay, the reason why I asked to come talk to you guys today was, we are, as you know, well, most of you probably know, we ended up pulling our hours back. We were running 6 days a week and now we're running 4. And that was just out of a preservation move for us. But before I had to make that move, I was doing some research. I was trying to figure out why. Given that location that we're at, such a high traffic capacity that it has, we're not able to grow beyond. It's a stagnant spot that we're in. I mean, it's just not growing. So, I was doing some research and came across quite a bit of information, and that's what this is, with a little bit of backup to it. We are grossly oversaturated in the food market segment in the city. And I'm not trying to eliminate competition. I think competition's a great thing. It keeps all on our toes, helps us to actually put out good product. And it basically puts out the ones that can't make it. I'm not talking about eliminating competition. I'm talking about making it sustainable for anybody that comes into this market. And what we have right now is not sustainable. We have 29 food establishments. We have a permanent residency of 3,200 people. If you count in tourism, which I'm estimating at about 1,500 people a month on tourism, and that's an annualized tourism. And then factor in any of the factories, and most of those factory numbers are duplicated because a lot of them do live in town that work in our factories. You're still looking at way under what the SBA is sustainable for any rural area. We should have minimum 500 people per restaurant, and we are well below that. What I'm asking are two things. I'm asking for a market study done by this council and action based on what you guys find out of that market study around planning and zoning.
I'm not quite understanding that.
So I'm asking the council to do its own market research. You guys go do your own market study. There's a document on the very last document, I think it is. It's a proposal sustainability study plan. So basically using this guideline, I've talked to Tasia Gordon out of the Missouri Department of Economic Development. She would be a good resource, for the city. Maybe be able to provide some guidance on who they have to do this, but
In your study, did you find out what a food service market capacity and sustainability study would cost?
I did not. But the Missouri Department of Economic Development has actual free resources, so I don't know, Tasia may be able to direct you to some resources that would actually do that without costing the city.
So are you, I noticed this one document is section 605-200 concerning food trucks.
Yes,
So,
that's a second,
but
that's
you
my
mentioned,
second ask.
you mentioned 29 restaurants.
Mhm.
So, do you want us, are we looking to see how food trucks are hurting our market, or what exactly?
So that's actually a separate issue. It all weighs on the sustainability issue, but food trucks specifically that are coming into town, they're just setting up randomly in different places, mostly at Macy's. They're basically taking the revenue out of the city, and not only that, but they're hurting those of us who have this brick and mortars to try to sustain.
Many of those food trucks are actually based right here in town or right outside of town.
I understand that. I understand that those owners may live here in town, but they're not paying the property taxes that those brick and mortars are paying. They're not paying the utilities on the buildings that those brick and mortars are sustaining.
Basically.
And they're not employing the number of people that we have to employ to sustain. So, I mean, there's several factors that they're drawing away from our ability to sustain on an already saturated market.
So are you saying we should not have food trucks?
I am saying we should not have food trucks. There's a caveat. So what I sent you, or what I provided in this ordinance, this is actually an ordinance from the city of Owensville. They got ahead of it. They realized what was happening, and they put an ordinance in place to protect their food establishments. So they have a caveat that there's an exception for any events, like city permitted events that are happening. There's a permit for the one day of that event for food trucks to be in the city. But after that event is over, they're done.
It is my understanding with the food trucks that they have to have a county license, they also have to have a city license for operation.
They do.
And they do have to pass annual health department inspection.
They do.
And they do pay taxes.
I'm not talking about sales taxes. I'm talking about the property taxes on the brick and mortar. So like an owned building would have property taxes that the city benefits from.
City doesn't have property.
She does not have any real estate.
In a sense,
The county does.
The county does, but the county, do you guys not
We have
receive
not had,
any of
we
this?
have not had a property tax since what, 80s?
We have no portion of property or no
Okay.
real estate tax.
Sorry, my mistake.
That's,
You said this section 605-200 handout, that's the city of Owensville's?
Yes.
am I asking any questions?
basically, in a sense, it would be punishing for somebody for having a different business model.
I'm not for that. I'm not for that.
It's not punishment. I have that business model. I But I also have an understanding that if I'm going into another city uninvited or without an event being there, that I'm taking away from the other businesses in that town. I'm taking away from their brick and mortar and their employees that are in that town.
In other words, you don't want a permanent truck.
What do you
Food
mean?
truck to be permanent, be a fixture. Actually, park someplace and stay there.
No, I'm not, I mean, that's not exactly what I'm getting at. When they come in, they're basically getting whatever revenue would have gone to brick and mortars, and they're leaving.
That's correct.
So if I may ask another question then, so you're looking at food trucks only being available for events
Yeah.
that meet, so if there's no events going on, no food trucks, then, is that correct?
I have heard other businesses express concerns about it as well.
The other restaurants,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing who those are?
Frisco's was one, yeah.
Fresco's
I think that, Miser said something as well.
down to the, Missouri.
You might get a proposition.
I think we need to look into it further.
You might want to volunteer to do that.
Wouldn't this fall under the planning and zoning committee then?
No.
No.
I need 2 volunteers that's willing to take that on.
Think about it.
Can will you give us till the next city council to come up with a plan? We don't want to dismiss it, so we don't want to address it. At the same time, if you could have other businesses that might be affected, feel like they're affected, reach out to us,
Okay.
it would help.
I will.
Okay. With one business, it's
I
kind
have
of hard
talked
to
to,
change.
I have talked to others. I didn't just come to you before, I had talked to others to make sure that I wasn't alone.
I just didn't see anything in here other than,
Are there any other municipalities that have adopted this besides Owensville that you know of?
That I
So,
haven't,
surrounding
I haven't looked past Owensville, but I would be happy to do that research for you guys if you wanted others, if you wanted to know about others.
we'll put that
Yes,
on.
I would check with other restaurants if you want me to and see
Yes,
if
please.
they think about it.
So, give us a follow-up and we will readdress this on May 5th. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Regular meeting minutes of April 9, 2026. Need a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Approve the special meeting minutes of April 16, 2026.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next item on the agenda is bills to be paid. Everybody had a chance to review, anybody have any comments?
Being the new alderman, it seems that we have a lot of charter spectrum on here from different locations, I would assume.
You want to address that too?
So we have to put everything in, by each fund, so, that's why there's several charters. So every, city building has a charter account, so this way you'll see it on there more than once. It's not that we have more than one charter, you know, on there so many times, but all of our internet is through charter now.
I have a question. Is our phone our landline, is that also charter then?
No, so when it says, internet and phone through charter, it's because some of the locations have to have, a specific type of phone for fax, or the airport has, one for their fuel line. But our phone is through NUSO.
Any other questions? Any motion?
I'll second.
Can I say something? You know, think about it, this is one of the first times in a long time that we've had a statement verifying that we had money in the bank to pay the bill. Normally we just say, we're gonna pay the bills, and we pay them without any verification. I really appreciate that. It shows that we are actually able or capable of paying our bills. Not on the number. I appreciate that very, very much.
Need a second? Did you have a second?
Yeah, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? McBride Develop update status with our engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I've had a chance to meet or introduce myself to all of you, but I'm Cameron Schweiss with Archer Elgin Engineering out of Raleigh. We have the pleasure of serving as your city engineer for all things city infrastructure. So the mayor invited me down to give a quick update on phase 1 of the Silo Ridge development by McBride. Sent out an email this morning. You might have that in your packet, but I can kind of briefly summarize what's going on out there right now. So as you all recall, phase 1 of that development, the plat and the infrastructure plans were approved several months back. The contractor proceeded with that work. As of today, the underground water and sewer mains are installed by the developer at the developer's cost. The stormwater piping and structures have been installed. That was the developer's cost. As far as the city's responsibilities, Andy Simpson and his crews have installed all of the primary electric road crossings. They've installed several of the like big junction cabinets that you might have noticed at the intersections. They've installed most of the conduit for all the primary electric that serves those first 36 lots in that development. And as of today, they started pulling wire through those conduits. So a little bit of coordination that's been going on between us and Andy's crew. As you know, there was some pretty rough grading out there, and on-site construction in the spring can get kind of difficult for digging. Our crews staked out all that underground primary, including the roadway crossings. There were some dirt piles and things in the way as Andy was digging, and a lot of those roads are on a radius. So as he installed that, our crews came back behind him and actually as-built the locations of all of his trenches. And we've overlaid that now on McBride's development plan just to make sure there's no conflict with easements. So we've had several coordination calls with McBride's engineers the last few weeks, just trying to make sure if any new easements come up in front of city council for approval, that they document well where all that city infrastructure has been put in the ground, so that 20 years from now we don't all scratch our heads and wonder why we drove a playground post through an underground duct bank or something like that. So all that seems to be going pretty well.
Andy was a little happy today.
Yeah, I think so. He was a little nervous, I think, at first, but he veered in the right direction. So I think all of that's going along well. The actual water and sewer service connections will be completed by McBride's plumber, not their site utility contractor at a later date. So all the roads have been sleeved for those future water connections. Those locations where the ends of those sleeves are kind of marked with pipe out in the ground right now. But there will be a fair amount of work with Glenn and his crews when they start fine grading those lots and get started on foundations and want to start hooking up water. That will tie up some city resources just to make sure that that meters are being placed in the correct location. There'll be a handoff of some materials. Quite a bit of coordination that needs to happen at that time. But for the most part, things seem to be going well. Road construction's in progress out there. We had a call with them yesterday and again today. They've submitted a final development plan to the city for consideration. That is a little bit peculiar. Typically, that would come with a plat and a set of infrastructure plans with it. And so as we talked through that, I think the main thing McBride wanted to convey is their intent to kind of lock in on total number of lots, sizes of lots, nature of lots, because at the end of the preliminary plat phase, there was still a little bit of question about what that total development might might look like. And a little bit of question as to how many lots and what the minimum lot sizes would be, for the overall development. So, I think it's probably a city attorney question as to whether the council needs to take any formal action on that, whether any public hearings are required. But the message that I was asked to convey is, through their engineer is they want to make sure the city knows here's where we believe we're headed over a number of phases, and just make sure that kind of, the development plan originally kind of it laid the groundwork or the foundation for all things that would happen after that. This is kind of the next step where they're saying, okay, now we know here's the total number of lots that we want to build. And just try to get some kind of mutual understanding with the city that that's where it's headed in phases, just so that they don't have to retrace their steps. So it sounds like they began working on engineering for phase 2. Obviously, we're not working on that work. That's through a different consultant. But it does sound like they've at least directed their consultant to start working on some preliminary engineering for phase 2. I think the earliest we would see that for council action sounds like it would be like the fourth quarter of this year or maybe first quarter of next year, based on my discussions with them. So we're still a little ways out. But it seems like things are going well. They expect the development to be successful and to continue on phases. So that might inform some of our other discussions in the next few months about, with the municipal advisor about financing some infrastructure projects and continuing on with some of those capital improvements that we've talked about the last several months. I know I just covered a lot in a very short amount of time. Any questions for me or anything I can do to help move things forward from the city side?
You said that, are they changing the number of houses they're gonna build?
I don't remember what that total number was on that
That's
preliminary development plan. Yeah, so it's reduced from that. I think the last version that I saw was in the 530s. This latest version in front of you, I think that's 525. So, that had some, obviously there's a fair amount of green spaces there and there's some easements for drainage and things that had to be accounted for. I think as they worked through their final engineering, they probably just had to sacrifice a few lots on corners and things that didn't quite meet the minimum lot standards. So, and of course they can come and advocate for their plan when the time comes, but it's my understanding they're kind of coming to you with that plan saying, here's what it's going to look like. Do you guys have any issues with this? Are there any outstanding questions? And then if that is adopted in any formal way for approval by the city, then you would hold them to that standard unless they would formally request an amendment to that later on. So it is a little, once again, if you read through your ordinance, normally you would have to have, in order to really approve that, you have to have a plat and a set of infrastructure plans to go with it. So that's not how it's been submitted. I don't know that you're required to necessarily take any action. It just ultimately would be, what's it going to take to make sure that both sides are working well together.
It's informational.
I think so.
I do have a question. Do we have these plans digitally where we can build them up to actually read them?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think there's a full size set here in City Hall somewhere, but absolutely, I can make sure you all have access to those. Yes, sir.
like number of houses sold so far?
I don't know. I have not heard.
I know I thought I saw plans for 5 improvements or something like that. I noticed, you went over there the other day, they already poured the roads.
Mm-hmm.
When will acceptance be to that? How will that be handled? Because what if anything, when do we formally take over that versus if they damage it while we're building
Sure.
houses or anything else?
Right. So I think you do not have to accept those improvements until all the infrastructure's been put in place. And I think that there are some temporary access and turnarounds and things like that that have to be in place before you would have to accept that road. So they're responsible for it until they turn it over to you. They're also, as we work through coordination, they're responsible for turning over test reports and all those things for the concrete and everything quality control related. And then obviously each department would have the ability, and I can come along with that to do kind of a final punch list on any outstanding items or quality assurance concerns that would need to be addressed before you accept it. So they've not asked or requested any of that yet. I would assume that that's probably, after they start selling houses, because ultimately I don't think you can grant certificate of occupancy until those sections of streets are dedicated.
Who will run those tests? Will they run those tests?
They are
Or just
responsible for
verify?
all the third-party testing. And then, during those coordination meetings we had at pre-construction, of course, Bill Dotson's retired now, but he was gonna run a point a lot of those proof roll inspections and things like that, so we'll just need to get all the documentation from the developer before you guys would feel compelled to accept the streets. But to date, I've not seen any of those test reports.
So I apologize, because I'm new to the board, new to all this here. So you were the engineer for phase one.
I am the engineer for the city of Cuba.
Oh.
So our team has reviewed, all of the infrastructure plans and the plats and all of the things that have come in front of the city for approval. Our team has reviewed those based on your code and provided recommendations for either items that needed to be addressed or recommendations for approval.
I understand that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Barry, you are up for airport construction T-hanger building project bid recommendation.
Good evening. My name is Barry Stoles. I'm with Hanson Professional Services, St. Charles, Missouri. We are the city's engineering consultant for the airport, for everything development related out there. We were hired under contract about a year ago to do design on a new hangar project at the airport to replace the northernmost hangar, which has been in need of repair for some time. So that is intended to be funded through MoDOT using FAA Airport Improvement Grant. This is through a combination of different funds. This is the period of time right now that we're in that has the most highest amount of funding through the FAA for hangars. There's very specific types of funds that can only be used on hangar projects. So last week we had a bid opening based on our design for the new hangar project, and that included demolition of the old hangar, construction of the new hangar, and then we had alternates for different other pieces, including new pavement access the hangar where we were tearing up some old pavement. So we had 4 bids that were submitted last week. We evaluated with the city the best scope to award for the project. Was determined that replacing the current hangar, which is 10 units, with a new 10-unit hangar, as well as demolition of the existing and then pavement to access all 10 units. So through evaluating the bids and looking at the funding that was available, the combination of those items resulted in the low bidder of CSE Enterprises out of Raleigh. They were actually the only bidder that fit within the available funding that the FAA and MoDOT have for that combination of items to be awarded. So we wrote a recommendation letter to award the project to CSE, and that would be the base bid, which was the hangar, and then added 1, which was the demolition, added 3, which was the pavement. So the funding, we sent a funding breakdown with a recommendation letter last week. Since then, we've coordinated with MoDOT and found some additional funding that was left over, remainder from the previous project. So the information we provided last week actually got better this week. It's not enough to award more pieces of the project, but it is enough to bring the city's share significantly lower. So the combined bid from CSE is over $1.2 million. The federal money, let me be more specific, $1,288,901. That would be the combined bid from So that's about 5.86% of construction would be the city share. So that's about as good of a deal as we're going to get from the FAA and the city. The normal, kind of the normal project local share, the city share is 10%. And so we're down to 5.86 on this particular project at this time. So,
what was the number again? The city share?
The city share, $75,577. And that's for the construction portion. Our design and construction administration fees were under a separate grant last year, so that's already been accounted for, but, just for the.
Still up there in 136,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the quick summary of the numbers. Essentially what we would be looking for is, authorization to apply for the grant to MoDOT on your behalf. And then once MoDOT will, send you the grant, it's gonna probably take a few months for the FAA to get their money to MoDOT. MoDOT will then get the grant to the city. At that point, you would hopefully accept the grant and award the construction contract, or execute the construction contract. So at a minimum, we would ask for authorization to apply for the grant, and then however you want to handle the actual execution of the grant and the construction contract can be either now contingent on receipt of the grant or separate approval later. So that's typically have to see it done one of those two things.
So you're asking for a vote on the recommendation tonight, based on the agenda?
So made.
Sorry?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. And a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just want to make sure I understand. So the base bid was the 109. That was the bottom base bid. You said total project was 1.2. Where was that difference coming from?
Yep. So there is a, do you have, what's in the packet? Do you have a copy of the recommendation letter?
Everybody got everything you just mentioned.
Okay. There's a couple pages, so there's 2 pages of the letter, and then there's 2 pages behind that are the bids calculated. So that number comes from, on this first kind of spreadsheet page, kind of black, gray and white page. The $1,096,866, that is the base bid, as you can see. That's for the new building. Then on the next page, it is a little crowded, but added alternate 1 is demolition of the existing hangar. The CSC price there is $51,700. And then additive alternate number 3, which is shows up this line, starts at line 20. There's a total there under CSC of $140,335. That would be for pavement and the grading work associated with pavement. So if you add those 3 numbers together, hopefully I did my math right.
And this was budgeted for last year, right?
Yeah, there was a motion made, I can't remember exactly when, I went back to the minutes, but, where I had asked council to, when this was asked to go out for a long time ago, I believe by Debbie Martin, and I don't remember who made the second, council approved to use capital improvement funding for the project. And I believe it was, back then we did 5% of the total project, and it was well over 100,000, so we're well under budget with the 75.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do a roll call vote?
Herzl.
Yes.
Cracker.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Renner.
Yes.
Grissom.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
You have any? Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Ms. especially for your hard work. Putting a lot on it.
Thanks, Jerry.
We'll challenge you, we got it.
You do good.
Can I just clarify? We voted to approve the recommendation that you gave us, correct? So do we not need to approve authorization to apply for the additional grant, or is that all together?
Well, that was the recommendation
that
that we
was
applied for the grant.
That's what I'm asking, is that all included in this recommendation?
We'll do whatever you want us to do.
I'm asking to make sure I have it correct, so.
Based on your approval recommendation, our next step would be to apply for the grant. So we can do that tomorrow.
Do we need to reword that? No?
I don't know exactly how she has it worded right now, exactly what the
Tell me how.
motion is, but
I didn't know what
are you, have we
I
accepted the
understood
bid?
the motion as we were accepting the recommendation that you presented in the letter, so we were,
To apply for the grant.
Have you also accepted though the only bid that he said fit the,
that's what I'm trying to clarify.
I think you need to do that.
That's where I'm making sure.
So do we need another motion to
Yeah,
accept
we
the
need
bid?
a motion to accept the bid.
Motion.
Where she has,
CSE.
Do second?
Well, I just said it was CSE.
yeah,
That's who it was.
Do we have a second?
second.
Do a roll call on this one.
So we only have one bid?
No, we got 4.
That was the
This was the
lowest.
lowest bid. The other ones were well over.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there.
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Thank you, Barry.
Any other questions on that?
Okay, update on the natural gas department action being taken. As you know, we have our supervisor for natural gas stepped down. We have since hired a supervisor who will start on April 27th. We got notified, our natural gas supervisor left in March. We got notified by MPSC that our required annual report was well overdue. It was due in January of 2026. We returned their call. They sent down 2 people to discuss and point us in the right direction to resolve the problem. I want to thank Isaiah Woodson and Jessica Talente for getting all the information needed to complete the annual report that was overdue since January of this year. It has been turned into that report has now been turned into MPSC. I validated that with Jason the other day at MPSC. They will return after their visit. They found some report discrepancies and the things that we need to do a little better. They will return in around 3 months to do their annual audit, which they come every year and do an annual audit. Then they will return in 6 months to check for progress. MPUA is also helping and is a valuable source of knowledge when needed. Currently, we have 2 natural gas employees. One of them will be leaving us on May 4th. He has accepted a job at Sullivan, in Sullivan, Missouri. The new supervisor will start April 27th, and we're running ads for another natural gas employee as we speak. We have 2 other natural gas trained personnel in the city's employ, capable of helping with all the call duties. I want to thank Mike Montgomery and David Minardi for volunteering their time and expertise in assisting the natural gas department. Greatly appreciated. I talked with the city administrator at St. James Public Works today. They are currently working on a municipal support agreement for all areas in the future so that we can work together should we have an emergency or we have an emergency need. They have been out already to help. We had a large commercial leak. I gave the Public Works Director a call there, and they immediately came up and helped us resolve the leak situation. We also working to approve and set up with USDI, a provider of natural gas training, tracking for repairs and services, as well as required reports at all levels. MPUA is in for approval to provide evaluations for the certifications. We will be covering those tonight on the agenda. Thanks to Tyler Scharfenberg, I always get your name wrong, Tyler, for taking a lot of calls so that others will not have to. He's been a tremendous help in that area. Thanks to Jerry Montgomery for stepping in as a temporary supervisor as well. And we now have 2 aldermen appointed as natural gas committee members, which include Russ Crocker and Ray Moormeyer, and Ray's very familiar with the natural gas department. And that concludes my update. Any questions from the council?
Pretty thorough.
All right. Discussion and approved public works supervisor job descriptions. You have before you 2 job descriptions. You have the public works supervisor job description, and then the new City of Cuba Public Works Director, the lawyer approved on 4/17/2026. The public works supervisor job description is the one that's currently posted for the public works facility. That is what the person will be hired to do. It will come in at level 24. That fits our budget. That was approved by our comptroller, Jennifer. So we need to, and then the City of Cuba Public Works Director job description, that is what they're working toward. Bob has told us that he's probably going to stay with us for another year to help train our public works supervisor into a public works director. And that will be the goal that we shoot for, to have him trained within a year. Jeff had requested us to have lawyer approved, so we would out this week to have lawyer approved.
What are you asking?
Not yet, I saw people reading, so I didn't want to rush it.
So we've got advertisements right now for public works supervisor, and we have the job description.
Correct.
And then I got an email here from the City of Cuba Public Works Director
Now, that is what the goal for training is to.
for this position.
No, we're hiring for this position as a supervisor. They're not going to be supervising other public works supervisors. They will be trained. This is what their functions are going to be. And Bob, who is currently working part-time with us as a public works director, will be training them to learn this. So you're going to learn this, and hopefully within a year's time frame.
So it'll be basically 1 person, 2 job descriptions?
Well, he'll have 1 job description.
He'll
He will
progress
train
through
them on this. That's his progression.
Okay, okay.
Just like our crew built the first.
Well, that supervisor position, he backfill or is that a job?
That'll disappear.
So you want an apprentice or journeyman?
And,
Now,
and
is it
then,
the supervisor that's gonna be a 24 or the director that would be a 24?
no, your supervisor will be at 24. And when they reach the director level, that will have to come before council before we go on.
Currently it's a 27.
The director,
Yeah.
yeah, so they'll move to a 27 once they're, I didn't have that written down, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, 2 weeks ago, we couldn't hire anyone because we didn't have the money, but we're gonna have the money for this.
You're gonna have to do some things with that work.
So, we probably ain't gonna have the money for this year.
That's not this year, that won't be.
It'll be in this budget,
No.
it's coming up budget.
We're talking a year down the road, so
So we're not gonna hire for this until next year?
yeah, it takes a year. Bob's gonna give us a year to train them. We wanna make sure they can do that function.
So they're gonna start with this supervisor, and then
And
say about
our
within
goal
a year,
is
they'll be
within a
trained,
year's
and
time,
then
we'll have them
to the
trained.
director.
So how much money are we talking to,
2884.
for a public works supervisor?
2884.
20?
2884.
And that's in-house only. We're not going out for hire. That was approved by the council to go in-house. And depending on where that person will come from, will affect how we hire the person to replace where they come from.
This 28,000,
That's 28 an hour.
But, now Jennifer,
I mean,
we're doing this in-house. So if we promote somebody to this in-house, we have to replace that position. So we're still gonna create a position.
The position already exists.
We don't at the moment.
Well, Bob's a part-time employee. Bob wants to retire in a year. If we do not train somebody to do our code inspections, our building inspections, our permits, and be the liaison between the McBride projects and everything else we're going on, we have to function as a government body. I mean, our public works has to be able to function.
Depending on who you hire in the position, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to rehire the position. That's basically what I can say. You can not necessarily rehire that position depending on who that person is. When you promote from within. You don't always have to rehire a position just because you lose it.
And that'll be at the council's discretion.
I have one question here. On the public works supervisor job description, it says job description on the sheet, job description pending attorney and council approval. Hire date will be after council approval of job description. You said that you've already reviewed it and approved it at the attorney level?
We reviewed the public works director.
Yeah.
Oh, but not the supervisor.
The supervisor already had.
I'm sorry?
The job description of the supervisor already had. We didn't have a director. We had a director, but it had a whole bunch of pending.
But my sheet just says pending attorney and council. Oh, attorney and council, but the attorney's already approved it. So now it's up to the council.
Yeah, because we approved the supervisor description, I think at previous meeting.
The supervisor position was already
Already
a job
exists.
description that we
The
had.
one that was approved by the lawyer was the new public works director we're gonna work toward.
Okay.
It was just, this was just put on the front sheet since it was too early.
Okay, now I'm following.
In other words, the salary is really going to depend on who gets the job. It might be a little bit more.
No, the supervisor position will pay $11.24 starting out. The person that leaves, it depends on which work center they come from, how we fill that position.
That's what I said, it could be more, could be less.
Probably.
What he's making now.
Yeah, but, and
It
we
could
don't know
be
who's
a
the
job.
job.
All right. What do you need?
I need a motion to approve the job titles, Public Works Supervisor and City of Cuba Public Works Director. Their job descriptions. And the level of pay.
No motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Hardell. Are we approving this description?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the level of pay.
Okay, yes.
This description and pay level, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Motion passed. Discussion and approval of fiscal year 26 budget revision as of 3/31/26.
Good evening. We are going to revise, this year's budget. I'm not sure what it looks like in your packet, but on mine it looks like this. I think this might be the first sheet on your packet. So if you'll turn to this sheet, and we'll get started. So, I'm asking for an approval for the attached budget revisions as of, 3/31/26, and we're going to adjust, revenues to account for various small revenue increases. We have a transfer as well as transfer out, increased gas tax and vehicle revenue, addition and donation money to the parks for pickleball, as well as added increase for pickleball court expenses, and increase in natural gas charges for services. We're going to adjust expenditures to account for various small expenditures, workman's comp increase in overtime in the following departments: admin, police, water, treatment plant, and natural gas. It's just basically that time of the year when we start looking in, this is the time of year when everybody's using more. Added salary for public works supervisor, including expenses for the overtime, social security, and loggers. Added salary for the increase in pay for the Tech 2 pay for the natural gas employee and the new natural gas supervisor. Added the transfer of parks fund to the general fund for the $50,000 for the salary. Increase for the inventory supplies and repairs in the following departments: electric and water works. Increase for inventory for repairs and natural gas. Increase in salaries in the street department due to departmental retirement and hiring changes. Increase in small tools and natural gas. Increase in training in natural gas. Decrease in repairs in transportation trust by $10,000. Increase in construction in transportation trust by $10,000. I do have some notes. This is our third revision of the fiscal year 2026 budget. While the overall budget numbers are staying on the positive side, I have some points that I would like to point out regarding this revision. Our revenues were revised to $479,500, and our expenses were revised to $40,059. Therefore, our estimated net income went from an estimated $290,011 we were looking at to end the year fiscal year back in the second quarter to now estimated $329,552. This is an increase of $39,441, which is better than the last increase of $221. However, I would like to note that without the estimated increase at this time in interfund transfers, our revenues would not be quite as high as they were currently. For the third quarter, we always like to see estimates rising. However, I'm still seeing expenditures, and I'm currently revising it in the expense area. From my perspective, this is not always a good outlook we would like to see. In many funds, the same expenses from the previous 2 quarters are being revised for various reasons, but I encourage you to look at the report and see for which expenditure is causing your budget to be revised each quarter. Finally, for a small reason, I expect to revise some accounts within each fund that are over a certain point each quarter. This point for the third quarter is 75% allocated amount for each account number. If an account number is not below that target amount, we expect that they will be over by June 30th, 2026. I would like to point out that without revising the charges for gas services by $300,000, which made a substantial impact on this revision, if this revision did not take place, our third quarter revision would be in the negative by $260,559. Instead, we revised to $39,441. Striving to have a balanced budget is a hard task that takes on many people working together. We must look at aspects of the city's funds, including interfund transfers to cover the cost of spending. Amendments to the budget should not only be made if there's something that can outweigh until the next fiscal year. I have stressed to the council that utilizing reserves is not a good practice. We only have a couple funds and are continually using those reserves to achieve a balanced budget. While we're still practicing utilizing reserves in many departments, it is a practice that is getting better. In coming months, as the end of the fiscal year ends, we need to focus on less spending and more saving for the future of the city of Cuba. In closing, please remember that a budget is nothing more than a management tool to act as a guide, very much like the quote from Apollo 13. It's one of my favorites that I like to use when talking about a budget. Ken, you're telling me what you need, and I'm telling you what we have to work with. This is the quote that sums up what a budget process is all about. It is all about what we need and what we must work with at the time of the incident. I ask each community department and employee to please keep this in mind when they're working with your department. Thanks again, working with your meetings. I have a few things I would like to clarify. On the next page is the third quarter transfer explanations that we'll kind of go through and explain what the transfers from each interfund is. I can go through the numbers with you, or if you want me to.
It's our first one, so.
Okay, so on transfer ends, the general fund, we made $89,745 transfer. $50,000 came from the park fund. $39,745 came from natural gas. In the electric fund, we had a transfer in of $269,486, and that came from capital improvement. In the waterworks fund, we had a transfer in of $13,278, and that also came from capital improvement. In the streets fund, we're budgeting a transfer in of $28,818 from the transportation trust fund. On the transfer outside, on the parks fund, we're having a $50,000, we're showing a $50,000 transfer to the general fund. On the transportation trust side, we're having a $27,818 to the street fund. On the capital improvement side, we're showing $282,764. $269,486 is going to the electric fund. $13,278 is going to the waterworks. On the natural gas fund, $39,745 is going to the general fund. So you can see if you add all those numbers up, everything will balance out to zero. Any questions about that? On the next page is your capital improvement schedule. I'd like to point out in the orange, hopefully yours is orange, mine is. Is yours orange?
No, gray.
No, they're still.
Okay, great, sorry. Where it says electric and reclosures, and then further down it says reclosure coordination study. On the following page, I have some explanations there that explain that. On the last revision, revision number 2, there was a miscommunication between the electric supervisor and myself, and the wording and what got revised on this sheet and what he asked for a revision on was wrong, and so I just wanted to point out on this sheet that we want to revise the actual reclosures, we want to revise the BOSS circuit and not the reclosure coordination study. So we're just changing the two. He did not want to take out the reclosure study, so we're just fixing the report to be correct. And then at the bottom in the yellow is the clarifier repairs and the hydrants. Dave submitted an actual request, and he had $17,000 originally budgeted, and he's requesting that he takes $10,000 out of the clarifier repair and for updating his water hydrants, and only leaves $7,000 for clarifier repairs. And then on the back, you can see your additions on the next page. You'll see the McBride capital project for the electric, and then the clarifier repairs and the water hydrant, so the new things that we're adding to the report. And then the next page is also the explanation that I just described for the reclosure. And then the next page is the actual budget revision report. I can go through that if you'd like.
This is our first one, so if you don't mind.
Yeah. So,
We're gonna have to go line item, it's not highlighted. Theirs is not highlighted.
It's still.
It's a gray area.
it's a gray area. So each gray area is the items that I'm actually I'm budgeting. If you want me to go line item by line item,
No,
or
just the highlight.
so, but each one of those items are the ones that I've highlighted, and so those are items that I've highlighted and I've asked that's the revised for this quarter. But if not, you can see in the 9/30/25, the 12/31/25, and then this is the 3/31/26 revisions. And each one of those columns are the things that have been revised. So if something's in each one of those columns, those are things that are probably need to be looked at and addressed, because they're being revised consistently. And then the back page, on the very back, just shows the last bar here, kind of shows the overall budget, and that's where I get my bottom numbers from. Do you have any questions for me regarding that report?
So is the ending amount that's unexpended, is that $13,613,756?
That's a fund balance, so yeah, that's where it's at right now.
What was that question, Joyce?
On the back page, the very last number on the bottom row, I said, is that the amount that's unexpended so far?
Last one.
13,677,000. That was my question.
And those are estimated amounts because fund balances don't get updated until the end of the fiscal year.
So I guess the discussion and approval of this is just that budget summary and transfers, page, 1, 2, 3.
I just need an approval to revise the budget
What she just read over.
Okay.
as of 3/31/26.
Do we have a motion to approve the budget? Roll call?
Best.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Ranieri.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Becker.
Yes.
Frizella.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, that's fine, thank you. Review and approval for USDI tracking training programs and software for the natural gas department. When during the process of our natural gas dilemmas, the people that came down, both the NPUA, MPSC, and also working with the St. James people when they came up and did municipal support, they all seem to mention the USDI, and they also mentioned EWN, so, and a couple others for the drug testing and stuff. So we went out and got proposals from all these organizations to provide the training, because the hands-on training now, they want you to do it computerized, so they can be tracked. All the reports can be generated via the computer. When you put the information in, it will generate the reports for you at the end of the year. You no longer have to do all the paperwork, then turn around and do all the paperwork, then get all the numbers, and then put those in manually. It'll be done as you do the support, as you lay the lines. You'll put that stuff into the computer, and then at the end of the year, they'll generate your report for you. The only company that would do that was the ones that everybody else is kind of using, and that's called USDI. They also track your training. As you're training on your task, You can now do it on the computer versus the old manuals that we used to have. Well, we found the manuals that were in the work center were dated, I think one was like 2016, one was 2022 or something like that. And then they brought us, when the guys got down, they brought us a new one. And it turns out we did have one of those as well in the work center, so now we have two. That process will now be computerized. So you'll go in, the technician will go in. Of course, he'll still have his OJT, his on-the-job training for welding, the PE and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the training certification, everything, it'll all be done on the computer. They will track it all. And then your certification, once you reach certification level, MPUA, we'll also be discussing them next. MPUA will come down from the Columbia area, Keith Carter, and actually do our evals here. And they're quite a bit cheaper to do the evals than the USDI people. And they will accept the certifications from MPUA. The service rates are on the second page of the USDI. Jennifer, do we have a sheet that shows?
Yeah. Printed off everything.
You need me to read these out? I'm sure you guys can. Yes, sir. So what we're asking for is approval to go into contract with USDI to provide the computer training and the tracking software and the reporting software so that we can train our technicians.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Next one is review and approval of the MPUA evaluations for natural gas training. Every time you do a certification task, what we do is we'll put together, if there's 2 technicians doing it or 3 technicians doing it, they will do their task, all their computer training and their hands-on training, and then Keith from MPUA will come down and they will evaluate them all at one time, so that we don't have to bring them down for 1 task or 2 tasks, so we can streamline our training and our evaluation process. MPUA is considerably cheaper than USDI on their evaluation processes. So I'm asking for approval to go into contract with MPUA for the evaluations of the magic.
Motion to approve that one.
I'm sorry?
Motion to approve that one.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the annual hay contract for the airport, Barnett Industrial and Treatment Plant. Before you are the hay cutting agreement that was proposed. The 3 areas where they normally hay, we do not have a current contract for that. So Jerry and them were having to maintain it, so we went out on a no-cost basis. We only had 1 person submit a bid, and it basically is to do the scope of work, description of services. Contractor agrees to perform the following services on the land: cut, bale, and remove hay from the designated areas of land as specified in Exhibit A. Provide all necessary equipment, tools, and labor to complete the services. Perform the services in accordance with the industry standards and practices. Complete the services within the time frame specified in Section 3.2 and 3.2 duration of agreement. This agreement shall commence on January the 1st, 2026, and shall continue until December 31st, 2026. Unless terminated earlier pursuant to the terms of this agreement, the contractor shall complete all services within this time frame, weather conditions permitting. So we're asking for approval to go into contract with this hay cutting agreement.
So this hay cutting agreement is something brand new we've never had?
No, we've had them before.
Okay.
We've had them before.
And you said we've had 1 bid?
We have 1 bid.
And has this person ever submitted a bid in the past to us?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
And I don't get a name on this one, but it is Charles Schroyer.
Sure.
It's Charles Schroyer.
Okay.
So only one bid then, correct?
And he did also provide insurance information, so.
I make that motion.
I would just
Well, we
like
gotta
to-
do the second, then we'll discuss.
So,
Second?
yeah.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, the only thing I noted on here is we don't have any requirements for when he has to mow by, but I'm just thinking about, I think the past couple of years, the airport field's caught on fire.
Well, this is a hay contract, he's not mowing the normal grasslands, that's still maintained by the grounds committee, this is strictly for the hay thing.
Yeah, around here.
Yeah. We allow the hay to, he has between those ages, those dates, to basically whenever the hay's ready and the weather permits, he'll cut the hay.
Yeah, but that's January to December.
Well, depending on rain, it could be up to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually June and October is usually when I'm cutting, if they get 2 cuttings out of it. It's usually June and then a late one in October, depending whether and what, if it's worth cutting or not.
We don't really have anything else to fall back on, so.
No, I agree, I just.
We're hoping he'll, the last time, just to be honest, the last time we decided to do a hay contract, I think they tried to do, if you remember correctly, they tried to do pay so much for a bale, and they took the hay and no pay for the bales. So that didn't work out.
He
real
didn't.
well. Yeah. So,
And, actually, I do have a question also now, but you mentioned, January to, December 2026, this does not now follow our fiscal year then?
no, it's just, this is calendar year.
Okay.
So we have a first and a second. Any other discussion?
Are we just approving this new application?
In other words, we have him per year to do the hay this year.
Okay,
And
so we're approving to hire him.
yes.
Okay. Isn't this a new application that we just came up with?
I see, I think I know.
This is what he submitted.
Okay.
These are the terms of his contract, based
Oh,
on
okay.
his insurance.
See, under 6.2, that's left blank, he said he gave us insurance. info.
He did submit his insurance information, yes.
Okay, so we have an amount to fill in.
I believe it was $1 million policy.
Okay.
Okay. You know what? I have it right here.
I'll pull it out.
No, I forgot that I don't.
Good question.
What is the standard contract insurance?
Million. No, it's not in here. I wonder if they emailed it later. I have seen his insurance policy and it's for $1 million policy.
I know we have.
No, it is not in here. So I guess they did not have a copy of the regular statute. But we can request in our motion if he wants, it has to be $1 million policy. He doesn't have it to show.
Yeah. This is it.
You ready now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we have a first and a second. Can we have those removed so that I can redo the comment?
Yes.
Who have a second?
I'll say.
No.
Oh,
We have a
So,
first and a second.
Renee Mortimer is the first thing, so we'll resend the motion.
Rescind. So approval of the annual hay contract for the airport and Barnett Industrial and Treatment Plan pending the verification of $1 million insurance.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Park and Recreation recommendations, Parks and Recreation Board appointments. I'm going to appoint. Going to appoint Ashley Wells and Rosalind Rainier, to the Park and Recreation Board. Okay, and the next one, hiring of pool employees. Oh, sorry, motion. Motion for Ashley Wells and Rosalind Rainier to be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Board. Any person to say? favor? No person second?
He needs to approve the appointment.
For the Parks and Recreation Board appointments of Ashley Wells and
Make the
Rosalie.
motion.
We have the first.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No, hold true to my, we had a park board.
Motion passes. Hiring of pool employees.
So if you, I went through and checked this, and you like the one.
Yeah. I'll let you go. Since you're still.
So per the recommendation of the Park and Recreation Board at last night's meeting, they recommended to hire for the pool manager, Cadence Silva, certified lifeguards, Michael Ballmer, Kaylin Wilkerson, Shannon Black, Marissa Foster, front desk, concessions, and lifeguard if courses are completed, Jadlyn Weber, front desk and concessions, Michaela Wells, Gunnar Weber, and concessions, Aiden Rice and Owen Shelton. Those were the recommendations from last night.
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Did you want to write the other three after, or are we waiting?
We're waiting.
Okay.
Let's see. Sports field agreement approval for the Cuba Soccer Association.
Did you have anything with your agreement?
We're all good?
Yeah.
You have those documents in front of you. It's a contract for the Cuba Soccer Association, or CSA. I need a motion. And a second.
Wasn't this what we decided on?
This is with the,
Motion to accept.
Second guess motion.
All those in favor?
That's for
All
both
those
of them.
opposed? Sorry?
Do it.
One motion for both.
oh, do you want to approve both of them? You want them separately?
Can we do that? I think we're.
I can check for signing that too, I think we're all good.
You want one or two? Doesn't matter.
So, separate.
It's probably
Okay,
clear
let's
to
just
do
do
them
separate.
separately.
Yeah. Motion for the soccer field.
Cuba Soccer Association.
Okay. First, second for soccer. Good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Now motion for the ball program.
Sports field agreement approval for the Cuba ball program.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And next is the police chief report, nuisance report.
Just a couple things on the nuisance. Some of you know that we're getting into the tall grass season, more nuisances pop up with a new alderman. We don't have a nuisance officer. We delegate any nuisances that come in to the officers to try to handle and keep up with the best they can. So if you see anything, notify City Hall, send out the notice to me for our officers to take care of.
So are you a little bit lenient because my yard is a swamp still, probably for the next at least day. So we get lots and lots of rain.
We do get lots of rain.
So I'm hoping you're not out there to get in trouble.
I guess I better keep that ditch cut.
The other thing, I just wanted to give a real quick update on our officer that we did sponsor for the academy. He's passed his post license. He's got a couple days left of the academy and graduates this Friday. So then he'll be working on field training and FTO for the next 3 months.
Graduates this Friday?
Graduation's this Friday.
When's his first day on the street then, Monday?
Actually Sunday would be his first day, but that's field training, so.
Yeah.
And that's just to get, in order to get his hours into the week, so that's what it'll be. We have a road closure for Southwest Main, just in front of Riviera Maya, May 8th and 9th, from 5 to close, I believe. do. I forgot that number in the office, thought I had it here and I did
If
not.
this is an annual thing, then.
Oh, yeah, it's
You may-
5, it is, I have it, it's 5 PM to close,
Okay.
both the 8th and the 9th.
We have a motion and a second.
There was a motion to carry that. And you, thank you.
All those in favor? Any opposed?
And the last thing I have is a discussion of our hiring an officer. As you know, we have that open position, that we went out, put that out in paper to hire. I had a couple applications. I have one that was mostly qualified to suit our department. The only issue we have at this point is her graduation from the academy in Phelps County is in July. I don't know that we want to make a commitment just yet. If you wish, we can hold this off till the next meeting where we can see if we get any more applicants that come in.
Well, we have to anyway, because we only put on an agenda for discussion.
Right. You're correct. That is just this discussion. So basically what I'm asking for is open mind for that. You know, it would be a fresh new officer if we did decide to do that. And we can train that officer as we need. Right now, we have not been getting the applications that we truly wish we could get.
So if you want to bring this up for discussion, you get the next meeting?
It won't be
Next
discussion.
month meeting.
No, the next meeting.
Next.
We don't have any closing date for the applications,
No,
right?
I left it open.
Okay.
And something else to keep in mind, if we wait too long, then that person who may be graduating, if we wait till she graduates, may have already secured a place somewhere else, and we're still in the same boat. My people right now, I recommend, it's just that, right now, just discussion. I recommend that, you know, this is just information for you guys to process. I want you to know that right now, with that person being short on that squad, actually both my squads, with the other one in the academy, who's going to fill a position on one squad, they're both, my squads right now are running a man short, and, you know, this day and age, they're working by themselves through the evening and day. We're moving our officers around the best we can, especially with vacations and things like that. It's hard to cover 24/7 for the citizens of Cuba, you know, and keep our citizens protected. So that's just the discussions. Any questions on it? That's all I have.
You know, we always have to ask when we talk manpower. I hate to do it, but Jennifer?
I'm gonna say what I've said for a while now is, and I think I put it in your packets, to think about for next year's budget, but it's also something we probably should think about for the remainder of this year's budget is no placement of employees unless they are in the supervisory position is downsized through attrition. Something to think about because, this, wages are our largest expenditure. So it's something that you need to think about. It's not my job to manage every supervisor's department, it's their job, so, they need to figure out how to deal with manpower. That's not mine. I am telling them how much money they have to spend. I am telling you that when it comes to figuring out how to make the numbers work at the end of the fiscal year in the general fund, I'm not sure that we are going to be able to make it work and keep us out of the red. So we're going to have to figure something out and figure it out quickly because June 30th is happening and it's going to happen fast. So with that being said, we're going to have to figure something out.
So with that being said, and I understand her position, why she needs to say that, we do have this position, it's already budgeted for, that's not being used right now. If we don't fill this position, we're gonna end up losing more officers, and with the number of applications that we have coming in
We're not gonna fill.
we're never gonna fill positions. And if we don't fill positions, then you're gonna be thinking real fast, how we're gonna have our police protection to cover the city.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate you. Let's see, old, unfinished, and new business. Joyce?
No.
Russ?
No. At this time. Nope.
Jeff? All right. Executive session, close to the public pursuant to RSMO 610.021, Section 1, legal advice, litigation, 2, real estate, and 3, personnel. So we're gonna adjourn?
We need a motion to go in.
Motion to go into closed executive session?
Second.
All those in favor? I'm sorry, roll call.
Herzog? Yes. Cracker?
Yes.
Musselman? Yes.
Sorry.
I'd like to speak if it's okay.
Well, we had citizen participation.
I just got here after the citizen participation. It's actually pertaining to the person that came in and talked about food trucks. I'd like to offer some insight.
We're gonna be coming back into record session.
Yeah. We're gonna come back, we gotta adjourn, and we gotta do our executive session, and then we're gonna come back into regular session.
Okay.
You're welcome to hang around in if you'd like to do citizen
All right, I will.
participation.
Thank you.
Okay, so executive session, close to the public, motion?
We have the first and
Motion
second.
second, roll call?
On Ramirez.
Second, I had a second.
And,
Roll call.
Oh, you started with me this time.
no, I'm just continuing with you.
Oh, okay, I didn't, okay, yes, I heard.
Roseman.